Leadership in Focus, powered by BIMT Campus.
Small and medium enterprises are the backbone of Sri Lanka's economy, where you have to be upskilling to earn more skills that is required to stay competitive and earn business growth and venture out to exports markets. Corporate sector plays a significant role that boosting the economy by handling the large organization's growth to support the economy by staying competitive. Both in these two sectors, for an entrepreneur to employees need to upgrade skills to face the enormous challenges. British Institute of Management and Technology, in collaboration with Chartered Management Institute of UK, has designed a unique program with the objective of laying a foundation in the managers, SMEs, HRs, leaders, business owners and startups that balance practical skills, knowledge and confidence needed to perform his or her jobs effectively and efficiently. BIMT Campus invites all business leaders and entrepreneurs to discover the best version of themselves. By improving your inner self, you can effectively lead your business and contribute to our national economy.
CMI is a global accreditation, and it also gives a pathway to gaining the chartered status. Our partnership with BIMT is a very strategic and a very powerful one.
The program has instilled a practical momentum in it. You will gain not only the knowledge, but you will learn how to practically apply it. And joining this program, which will enhance your management skills, which is a requirement of the country.
Harvard did a research few years back, selecting about 500 people from different fields. They are corporate leaders, top athletes, like that. And they put it into two quadrants. One is the education, qualification, experience, family background, etc., etc. And that's about 20% your success factor. What is the balance 80%? Is attitude, positive attitude. It's all about softer skills. That's why I like this syllabus. I went through the syllabus. It's one of the best syllabuses. And in fact, in management, this is probably the #1 in the world.
The world is really looking for effective corporate leaders. Leadership is a muscle, actually. Everyone born with that muscle. There are some bodybuilders, those who go to gyms and they build their muscle. But leadership muscle you can't see. It's a cognitive level muscle, philosophical level muscle. You have to do the right exercises to develop your muscle. This is a place to develop your muscle.
SMEs are growing, as you know. They are really bogged down with the business operations. And also they are not in a position they can afford for qualified people to recruit. So they concentrate on the business and grow. After sometimes when they grow, they have come to a deadlock-like situation. Their managers, especially middle-level managers, are not qualified. They don't have enough managerial qualifications, experience, and they can't think beyond. The person involved in the program, we are very, very positive. We are very optimistic, and you have very dedicated team over here, and they will take this program to the best levels.
Join our dynamic and inclusive learning community at BIMT Campus, where we shape the leaders of tomorrow. Leadership styles have drawn the attention to realize the purpose of navigating corporate teams to achieve corporate achievements. Leadership in Focus connects with Ms. Sandra De Zoysa, Group Chief Customer Officer of Dialog Axiata PLC and Executive Director of Dialog Business Services. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sabrina. It's lovely to be here.
How do you identify and analyze trends in customer satisfaction?
Well, trends in customer satisfaction have a lot to do with voice of customer, which is gathering feedback from the customers. And in the good old days, you know how we had big forms to fill up to get customer feedback. But nowadays, it's all online, it's via digital channels predominantly. And the simplest, easiest way, of course, is to figure out the thumbs up and thumbs down and so on. But if you're looking for more to do with voice, tonality, body language. There is sentiment analysis that can be done. But a lot of the analysis in this day and age is really data-driven insights that you get from across your digital channels. There's also from it that you can get hold of predictive insights as well, and through predictive analytics. So that kind of gives you an opportunity to figure out when the customers are not so happy, but may tend to be getting even more agitated or unhappy, so that you find out ahead of time if they are likely to churn, for instance. Of course, when you're looking at journeys these days, it's about a customer's journey, how they traverse through your, perhaps your digital channels as well as of the other channels, and then at different points, whether there's friction or whether they have seamless journeys. And based on those analytics as well, you can figure out where the friction points are and look at how you can fix and make digital journeys more seamless. Of course, there's real-time analytics as well. Let's say, for instance, your customer is seated in front of you. You know, what can you pick up from those? And if, let's say, they are on a phone call with you, and then how would you pick up on those nuances that kind of tell you whether they are happy or unhappy and things like that. And not to mention the traditional benchmarking method as well, where you actually go to customers and have a long survey with them. It can be a face-to-face survey where you're asking them questions and they respond, and you take those thoughts down, or of course send them a questionnaire which can be filled up, which is a little boring because in this day and age people don't really like filling up long questionnaires. So that really is not the best way. But to have, let's say, anonymously, you know, you engage with a company that will take on visiting your competitors as well as yourself, and trying to understand what a customer's journey is like for themselves, and then be able to give you a comparative analysis is also, you know, something that was fairly traditional and still continues to go. So a lot of it these days are to do with personalization in this day of AI, and I think the opportunities are endless in comparison to decades back. So it's a wonderful age to be in if you're really looking to leverage all the feedback and insights that you can get from customers to really improve your products and services.
How do you keep your team motivated and ensure high performance, especially when dealing during challenging phases?
Okay, so for me, I have a really young team, and nowadays the younger people, unlike when we were in the workforce, are all about purpose. They don't just like to come to work. Even at interviews, I often find that the younger people say, so what is your company about? And you know, they're looking for real meaning and purpose of the organization, right? So that's one of the things I've noticed. So keeping them aligned to the greater purpose and objective of the organization, and that famous old story about, you know, are you building the Taj Mahal or are you just laying bricks, you know? So it's always important that they realize that the work they do, no matter how insignificant it looks, is really not laying bricks but building the Taj Mahal, right? So that is one of the ways in which I keep them motivated. The other is they look for constant ways of being able to give feedback, right? And which means engagement to them with other people in the way they like it. So not essentially physical and you know, playing games physically or something. It could be in different forms. It can be digitally gamifying whatever you do. So that sort of thing also is really helpful. But communication, constant engagement and communication and transparency is really important to them more than it has been for the older generations, I have to say. Also, they don't like to be micromanaged at all. They want to be told something and then leave them to come up with their creative ways of doing something. So they like to be listened to, like to be heard. They like to know that whatever they are bringing to the table is equally acceptable, no matter how small a thought or idea. So the way you get feedback from them, the way you engage with them, and also if you want to decline an idea or a thought or suggestion, you have to do it very differently, because you don't want to end up upsetting them either, right? Because that doesn't actually help in any way. But the one thing that has worked across all generations, throughout my career with young people is, I find, the opportunity you give them for development, right? So for me, people development and continuously encouraging them and supporting them to build new skills and keep their skills up to date. Really, a lot of tech as well in this day and age, because everything's gone digital, is super important. Beyond that, I would say work-life balance is a big thing also for them, more than it ever was for us. So focusing on that is important as well. Safety, and mental health and well-being is something that we focus a lot on. Finally, it's not because it's the least important, but a very important point is rewards and recognition as well. Now, in it, we don't often have to think that it's all about the money and that it's only about the rewards. Actually, rewards, continuously rewarding and giving money for something is not the right way to go about it. Recognition really matters as well. So you have to learn to balance out rewards with recognition and make sure that they are duly recognized for the effort they put in, for the great work they do, and constant tap on the back, I think, or tap on the shoulder, I think is something that they really appreciate as well.
What qualities do you look for in potential leaders within your team, and how do you nurture and develop leadership skills in your employees?
So, for me, attitude matters a lot. Passion, compassion, empathy matters a lot. Particularly in my line of work, when you're serving customers, you have to be empathetic. To be able to be sharp and think on your feet, because you're always talking to people who could be looking for a solution in their point of trouble. They may be, they're looking for help. And when that is the case, you have to always make sure that you can think on your feet and that you can be empathetic, and that your main objective or intention is to find a solution for the person who's speaking to you. It may be at the end of a telephone line, or may be on an online chat, or sitting with you face to face, whichever that may be. So those qualities to me matter first. When you come up the ladder rather, strategic thinking is also something that really does matter, and analytical skills is another trait that is important, or a skill that is important. Because we work in tech, it is always helpful to have to be tech savvy. Not essential, but really helpful, because this is something that you can build along the way, given that tech keeps changing all the time, and you have to keep updating yourself. So, that's something we can teach as well. It's not too much of a problem, but the word teach is important, because learning agility is what we look for, right? So as long as somebody is willing, empathetic, they have learning agility, and they're sort of personable and comfortable talking to people, as opposed to, depends on the kind of work. We also have work which does not require to sit in front of customers, but also, more analytical in nature and more back office, middle office kind of work, as opposed to front office. So it depends on the role as well. I'd say those are some of the things, but fundamentally it's important that you're comfortable to work with people, whether it be people, customers, or people, your internal teammates. So people management skills and customer centricity and having that kind of personality in which you're pleasing and you're comfortable talking to other people are some of the, I would say, some of the things that I would look for.
How would you describe your leadership style and how has it evolved as you have progressed in your career?
I have to say that my leadership style in the beginning, in my early days, or I would say in the first 2 decades, was being more task oriented. And because at the end of the day, we run 24/7 operations and we address customers through multiple channels, and therefore it is essential that we are able to keep to our promise for customers. So we have customer promise, or SLAs you can say, and we have to make sure that we provide solutions or attend to customers' requests in the time that we promise to do so. So therefore task orientation was one of it. But as the years rolled by, I've also changed and now for me it's really a strong focus on the development side of it. So I focus more on allowing people to build the abilities, the skills to reskill and upskill themselves, and talking about the intentions, the purpose, the objective, rather than telling them what to do, which of course we teach them, but thereafter it's important to say why we tell you to do what you do, why is it important. So for instance, we would say something like in our line of work, so you say if a customer's line is disconnected, perhaps maybe that person's mom or dad or someone in the family, a loved one, can be in hospital and they really need to keep in touch. Or if it is their daughter's phone or their own phone and they've just sent their child away overseas, as a parent you're really anxious, you want to be constantly able to keep in touch. Or maybe they are actually in a funeral, right? So it is not a time when they can, you know, not be contactable. So if you think of it like that, then people understand the importance or the urgency or why it is so important that we fix problems if there were problems, or we attend to a request if they want something from us. So my leadership style more is about teaching and trying to get people to really embrace technology, embrace skill sets that are essential for this day and age and for the future. And one of, I would say, a mentor, coach or teacher now, and trying to inspire people to do the right thing and trying to inspire people to become the best version of themselves.
How do you ensure that the department's goals align with the overall strategic objectives of the company?
So that's actually, you know, I would say a very simple thing. I always try to make sure that I firstly build that story. So it's pretty much like a story, right? Your organization has a direction that is set, and from functions or departments, you know, whatever you may call it, we need to align to the main goals of the organization. And then when you pick up on the main goals, there are tasks to which you might break them down, which are tactical in nature. But otherwise there are strategic goals and things that you specifically have to achieve, which may be numbers, right? So it can be qualitative, it can be quantitative. So we do this by cascading right from the top of the organization down to the various different levels based on their job descriptions and their KPIs or OKRs that we really set for them. And then we have a very unique way of being able to do this, which was done this for at least 2-3 decades now. We have a monthly performance review or evaluation methodology where there's a self-assessment, and then their immediate supervisor sits with them and has a chit-chat about whether everything has been achieved for the month, your KPIs and OKRs, and if it isn't, what the gap is and how to work on it. So next month you're able to then work on and see whether things have actually got sorted out or not. And that's a good way for giving constant feedback, especially to the younger ones, because then they know your expectations and they're aligned. So actually that, I would say, is one of the ways in which I ensure that all the way from the most junior team member all the way to the top, that there's complete alignment across what I want for customer experience and what the organization expects as well, and there's complete alignment and everybody understands that we're all pulling or running in the same direction, and that really helps. I have to say it really helps, because that way we are able to deliver on our main goals and KPIs that we have for the organization. I think another thing that's really important is to make sure that there's constant feedback and communication, and there's transparency. So if the organization's results that we're looking for is not headed in the right direction, or if something is headed in the right direction, it is really important to share this information, specifics as well, if it's in numbers. Let's say you have a financial goal or KPI to achieve as an organization, and then you need to be telling them regularly, this is how we are doing, this is how much by which we are up or down, and this is the gap that we need to make, right? And then people really take it to heart and go for it and make sure that they actually deliver on all these targets or KPIs that the company has, which is to achieve the greater objective of the organization, to make sure that the customers are happy, the shareholders are happy, government, all the other stakeholders in that ecosystem that we have. One of the ways in which this can be done really well and succeeds is cross-functional collaboration. So I really encourage all of our team members to get involved in as many cross-functional projects as possible, to volunteer their help, so that you kind of get to know everybody in the organization, especially when it's a very large organization. Otherwise, we have almost conflicting, sometimes goals, right? Something that's working for me may not work well for the other. So what do you then do? Because do you do what's good for you and forget the other person? Or do you try to think of that greater purpose? So sometimes if it's a win for you, it might be a lose for another function, and overall for the organization, what does that mean? Is it a win or a lose? So you have to be able to think beyond yourself to the greater good of the organization, how it, even the tiniest of tasks you do, how that actually may impact the organization as a whole. So you want to make sure that there's a win-win whenever possible, but if not, even if it means that from a functional point of view you lose, but it's for the greater good for the organization, then you forget about your KPI or what you're doing, and try to make sure that you do the best, because it's better for the organization. It's better because end of the day, we're all in an organization. It's not for ourselves, right? The organization has to be the one that wins. So you have to teach people, and you have to be able to learn how to put your organization first before self, and that's not always easy, because obviously we think of ourselves and our division, our department, our function, our family. It's all about us, right? So it's not always easy to say, I'm going to put someone else first, and not myself, or not my team but someone else's team. But learning that, right, I think is a very, very important aspect, especially of leadership. Yeah, so I think those are some of the things I would say that we encourage. As an organization, we encourage a customer-first culture. It's embedded in our values, in our corporate values, and our corporate value number one is service from my heart. And that is about building a customer-centric culture within the organization, which we've specifically embarked on a program 10 years ago now. It's like the 11th year. And that's to be able to constantly think about how every single day or month or year we are focused on building what we call SFH, service from my heart, right, an SFH culture. And we've successfully managed to do that over this 10 years. And when I say successfully managed to do, as human beings, customers as well, ourselves, what we want and our expectations are ever evolving. So I'm not saying that we've achieved it, but it's a pursuit of excellence. It's a pursuit of trying to always keep up and trying to do the absolute best, sincerely and honestly, that we can for the organization, but more so for the customers first. And not forgetting, when I say customers, I don't just mean external customers. It also means our internal customers, which is the employees of the organization. And we have a term that we fondly use within the organization called RP Dialog. And that means us as a family, us as one team, to work towards what we can do to achieve our greater vision and mission, which is for the citizens of the country, for the country, and for the greater good.
A structured leadership style with an empathetic note as well, due to the organization's strong belief about a customer-centric culture. We were in a very interesting conversation with Ms. Sandra De Zoysa, the Group Chief Customer Officer of Dialog, Axiata PLC, and Executive Director of Dialog Business Services. Thank you very much for connecting.
It was a pleasure, Sabrina. Thank you for having me here.